John Marston, the protagonist of Red Dead Redemption, the secondary protagonist of Red Dead Redemption 2, married to Abigail Roberts and father of John Marston Jr., commonly known as Jack Marston. John is arguably the most important character in the entire Red Dead Redemption story over both games. Today we're going to be looking into John's daughter. As a line of dialogue suggests in Red Dead Redemption, John Marston had a daughter who passed away.
Miss McFarland, I'm married. I have a son. I had a daughter, but she died. Years before that, I rode in a gang.
John's daughter doesn't have much bearance on the story at all, but we know she existed at some point and that she passed away, but beyond that dialogue, John's daughter is barely mentioned again. But some clarity on the topic wouldn't go amiss, I'm sure. So let's try to be brief, as this is just a bit of fun. There's hardly any substance to this. John's daughter is mentioned in Red Dead Redemption by John in a conversation with Bonnie McFarlane, but she is barely mentioned in the game. I believe there's another few moments where John does mention it, or it's indirectly referenced, but my point is, it doesn't appear to be a fresh thing in the events of Red Dead Redemption, meaning she's been gone for a while. Another thing worth mentioning is John's daughter does not have a grave, at least a marked one on Beach's Hope Ranch in Red Dead Redemption. Maybe she died beforehand? In Red Dead Redemption 2, even in the epilogue, John's daughter is never mentioned, meaning I'd imagine she didn't exist yet, meaning John's daughter likely wasn't born prior to 1907, yet before 1911. Meaning she was probably somewhere in the middle of this time frame, probably closer to 1907 than 11, but it's still unusual that she doesn't appear to have a grave. What's unusual is a line from Javier Escuela, if you choose to keep him alive in Red Dead Redemption, says, "I hope your wife and children rot in hell," implying Javier knew John had 2 children by 1911. I'd argue this indirect reference wasn't intended, as John and Javier hadn't seen one another in 12 years with no confirmed meetings in between, meaning that Javier could have just been using logic to account for the possibility that John and Abigail would have had another child at least. That or he's an all-knowing evil being, just make your pick and make it fast. Either way, here's the clip, make up your own mind.
Shit, don't be sure about what you're doing, brother. You saw me out. Didn't that life we had mean nothing to you? You puto. One day, I promise you, you're gonna regret this.
One day's about all you got left.
I hope you and your wife and children rot in hell.
And of course we know that John's daughter was definitely after the Van der Linde gang by some years at least, because in the Red Dead Redemption mission Women in Castle, John states, "I had a daughter, but she died. Years before that, I rode in a gang." In the epilogue of Red Dead Redemption, she's never mentioned, and there's plenty of time for her to be naturally mentioned, meaning Rockstar don't miss out details like this. The Marston daughter did not exist yet. So she was definitely born after the point by 1907 when the Marston family was settled onto Beach's Hope. This is further supported by the presence of a cradle in the attic of Beach's Hope's main house in Red Dead Redemption. But had she died while there, wouldn't she have a grave? The only possible theory I have to account for this would be that Marston's daughter was stillborn and thus never got given a name, and they decided to just bury her in an unmarked grave, either on the ranch or elsewhere. Like I said, apparently if you look in the attic of Beach's Hope in Red Dead Redemption 1, you can find an old cradle, though that doesn't necessarily imply that the daughter was not stillborn, as usually you get the cradle before a baby is born so that you have it. But considering there's no grave, I'd imagine at some point between 1907 and 1911, John Marston's daughter was stillborn and buried without a name nor a marked grave somewhere, because why would you mark a grave for someone who had no name? Especially given the Marston family isn't exactly creative, Jack being the exception. John and Abigail would have easily just opted to forego the pain of naming and burying a stillborn child in a marked grave. This is what makes the most sense to me. Given the evidence that we have, I honestly think this is the conclusion most likely to be the truth, in my opinion. But because we don't actually know anything, there's plenty of room to speculate what might have actually happened. But please do let me know what you think down in the comments section. Anyways, thank you all for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to go ahead, leave a like, subscribe, share the channel with your friends and all that wonderful stuff. Let me know what you think down in the comment section, and if you're feeling like it, maybe consider becoming a patron over at patreon.com/FishyYarpster. Don't ask about the link, I honestly don't have an answer for you. There's plenty of extra content over there if you want it, but whether or not it's worth it is completely up to you in the end of the day, and I will see you all very soon with another video at some point.